In this how-to, we're going to talk about how to work with HTTP as an action. To explain the context, you sometimes have a problem where you have to call an API, which could be in your ecosystem or a third-party developer's APIs, or an API which the Quickwork Journey Builder doesn't have as a connector, right? So it could be possible that you want to fetch your post from WordPress, you want to fetch the latest stock price from your custom API, or you want to integrate with your partner who happens to have given you an HTTP endpoint which contains some basic details about your respective operation that you want to perform. So it could be something like this, right? I have a sample API over here which is returning me an array of posts from a particular blog. This is a fake API, but an API generally looks like this, which has a response in JSON or XML, depends on what kind of API you're dealing with. So for this demonstration, I'm going to stick to this API, which is a JSON API which is returning me an array of posts which consist of user ID, an ID of a post, a title, okay, let me zoom in, a title and a body, right? These are the things which are included as part of this particular API. Now I've also set up a journey in which whenever I send a WhatsApp message on my WhatsApp bot, it will trigger in this HTTP. That's all I'm doing over here. And now I need to fill in the details of this HTTP, right? So let me just give it a name. I'm going to call it get all posts from blog. Okay, that's my API. You can name it whatever you like. Contextually, it starts showing up over there. Now, what kind of API call do you want to make? Do you want to make an application JSON call, text plain, form URL encoded? This is something that your developer or your API documentation should provide you. I'm going to choose this one. And in case it's not provided, my hunch is most of these APIs are going to be application/JSON. And if you can see the outcome is JSON, then most probably the input can also be JSON. Now the method. Now I have got a get API. Again, this is something that you will get from your documentation or your API provider. If you don't know it, just hit it on the browser. If it works, then it would be a get. Otherwise, use a tool like Postman to identify which method are you looking for. Then I'm going to copy this URI. I'm going to paste it in here because this is the endpoint of the URL of the request URI. Now this is a place where you have the option to pass in a body. You can pass in JSON, you can pass in XML, you can pass in a data parameter from this over here, you can from your apps above. The choice is yours. Right now I'm not really interested in passing any body. You can also pass in query params, right? So sometimes people ask you to pass query parameters like age, name, number, depends on the use case. You'll have to pass in something. Sometimes people ask you to pass in the API key, and you can pass in the API key like so. You can add more query params as per your choice by clicking on the add new item. Right now I am again not interested in the API key, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. Again, request headers. Generally people ask you to pass some headers. That also again could be auth tokens, API keys, could be something related to your cookies and sessions. It really depends on what your API provider provides you. Okay. Now this is important. The response type. Are you going to get a JSON? Are you going to get a better text or an XML? As you saw, I'm getting a JSON reply. Now, here is the interesting part. This is an optional field, but it is useful, right? Now, for instance, if I save this right now and I run this, and if I send a message on my WhatsApp bot over here with the hi, I should get a trigger, which it just did, and I can see that an API call was made, and I can see an output saying all my posts. So if I zoom in a little bit, it says the title, the body, everything is sort of coming from this endpoint over here. So that's a successful job. But there's a likelihood that you want to use this outcome in your next action, which could be respond back on WhatsApp, for example. So you will sooner or later realize that if you add a new action below, and if you choose like WhatsApp by Gupshup itself, send a message, and if I want to send a message and you open this app data tree, you will see that there's not much information available for you to use. Ideally, I would have preferred to have all my posts listed over here so I can drag and drop them, but it's not going to be listed automatically. So what happens in here is that it expects you to enter some kind of basic data structure. You can pretty much, sort of copy and paste the first example in here and ensure that it is a valid JSON array. So if you're opening a JSON, ensure that you're closing the array with the bracket. Again, okay, I'm making a mistake here. Yeah, there you go, a bracket. So this at least showcases you that this is your data structure that you are expecting this to give. Now if you close this section and you open this, now suddenly you'll see that you have more fields to work with, because now the system, the Quickwork tool, knows that you're going to get a user ID, an ID, a title, and a body as part of your response. So now let me do one thing. Let me respond back to the phone number who sent me this message, which would be the sender ID. You don't need to know this, but what you do need to understand is that now I can drag and drop the title. I can put an enter. I can say the author ID, which is what I'm getting, is like so, or rather it's the user ID, not the author ID. So user ID, and I can also say body of the article is as following, right? And I can start this journey right over here. And now if I send a hi, I should be able to get a response back. There you go. I get the title, I get the author ID, I get the body, all coming from a third-party API. So I hope you understand how you can integrate with custom endpoints of any kind of data structure, of any kind of ecosystem of your choice. As soon as it's accessible over the internet, you can make an API call to any of these endpoints of your choice. And this last section, which is the response body schema, allows you to specify what kind of data structure are you expecting from your ecosystem, and you can sort of reply and use that in the subsequent steps, which I did in the step number 2, which in this case was WhatsApp, but it could be anything in your case. So I hope you find this demonstration useful. Thank you very much.